Let's pray.
Oh my God. Okay.
Everything.
What's it?
Whispers in there.
All minds clear? Yeah. Deuteronomy chapter 6 at verse 4. Hear, O Israel, Yahuwah our Elohim, Yahuwah is one. Shema Yisrael.
Shema Yisrael.
Yahuwah Eloheinu.
Yahuwah Eloheinu.
Yahuwah Echad.
Yahuwah Echad.
This is Exodus or Shemot chapter 20, beginning at verse 3. We will have no other mighty ones.
We will have no other mighty ones.
Against the Most High.
Against the Most High.
We will not make any carved image.
We will not make any carved image.
Or any likeness.
Or any likeness.
Of that which is in Shamayim above.
Of that which is in Shamayim above.
Or which is in the earth beneath.
Or which is in the earth beneath.
Or which is in the waters under the earth.
Or which is in the waters under the earth.
We will not bow down to them.
We will not bow down to them.
Nor serve them.
Nor serve them.
Yahuwah El. It was a jealous El. Visiting the wickedness.
Visiting the wickedness.
Of the fathers on the children.
Of the fathers on the children.
To the third and fourth generation.
To the third and fourth generation.
Of those that hate him.
Those that hate him.
With showing kindness.
Showing kindness.
To thousands of those.
Thousands of those.
Who love him.
Love him.
And keep his commandments.
And keep his commandments.
We will not bring the name.
We will not bring the name.
Yahuwah El.
Yahuwah El.
To nothing. For Yahuwah will not leave us unpunished.
Will not leave us unpunished.
Who brings his name to nothing.
Who brings his name to nothing.
We will remember the Shabbat day.
We will remember the Shabbat day.
To keep it Kodesh.
To keep it Kodesh.
6 days we will labor.
6 days we will labor.
And do all our work.
Do all our work.
But the seventh day
But the seventh day
is the Shabbat.
is the Shabbat.
Yahuwah El.
Yahuwah El.
For in 6 days
For in 6 days
Yahuwah made Shamayim.
Yahuwah made Shamayim.
And the earth.
And the earth.
And the sea.
And the sea.
And all that is in them.
And all that is in them.
And rested the seventh day.
And rested the seventh day.
Therefore Yahuwah barak the Shabbat day.
Therefore Yahuwah barak the Shabbat day.
We will respect our fathers.
We will respect our fathers.
And our mothers.
And our mothers.
So that our days are long.
Our days are long
Upon the earth.
upon the earth.
We will not murder.
We will not murder.
We will not commit adultery.
We will not commit adultery.
We will not steal.
We will not steal.
We will not bear false witness
We will not bear false witness
against our neighbor.
against our neighbor.
We will not covet
We will not covet
anything
anything
that is our neighbor.
that is our neighbor. Father, Yah, we come before you, asking, Father, that you would be attentive to our prayer, Father. Accept our petition, Father. Hear your people, Father. We pray and ask, Father, that you would remove anything that is unlike you, Father. Purge us, Father, according to your word, Father. Father, we pray and ask that you would open up the hearts and the minds of your people to accept your word, Father, without impede, without obstacle, Father, that it would reach the hearts of your people. Father, we pray that your word will proceed forth according to your ruach, giving understanding unto the hearer, Father, according to your ruach, giving utterance unto the speaker, Father, according to your ruach. Father, we pray for any soul that is in transition, Father, or is in transit, rather, that you would allow them to make it here safely. We pray for all those who are listening on the stream and who are listening in the room, Father, that you would just impart wisdom upon each and every person, Father, so that we are able to walk in your word, Father, according to your riches and mercy, Father. All these things we pray and we give thanks. So be it.
Hallelujah.
Hallelujah.
All right. Shabbat Shalom. And that ain't sound too good. I get on the kids about it. I gotta get on the adults. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
All right. How many of y'all happy to be here today? Hallelujah. You didn't have to do it. You did not have to do it. Right? Everybody mute all your phones. Mute your phones, mute your phones, mute your phones. Mute your phone. Make sure I got mine typed before I get to talking and mine typed. Everybody good this week? Everybody good? All right. After the lesson last week, I mentioned something that everybody should remember for this week. It was a particular verse. Do anybody remember what that particular verse was? Anybody remember? Nobody remember. Who took notes from last week? All right. It was one of the scriptures B hit about being perfect. Who remembers? Huh? What's the scripture? James 5:19. Let's go there. James chapter 5 and verse 19. Let's go there.
James chapter 5:19. Brethren, if any of you do err from the truth and one convert him, let him know that he which converteth the sinner from the error of his way shall save a soul from death and shall hide a multitude of sins.
That ain't it. That's not it. I told y'all to hold on to something. That sounds about right. Let's pick it up. Yep. Nope. This is that.
2 Timothy 3:17.
You had it written down? How do we take this back to the law? How do we take this back to the Old Testament? 2 Timothy chapter 3. Pick it up at verse 16.
2 Timothy 3:16. All scripture is given by inspiration of Yahuwah and is profitable for doctrine.
It's profitable for what?
For doctrine.
For what else?
For reproof.
What else?
For correction.
Uh-huh.
For instructions and in righteousness.
Yeah.
That the man of Yah may be perfect.
That the man of Yah may be what now?
Perfect.
That he may be perfect. What did we learn that perfect was? Complete. And he may be perfect. What else?
And thoroughly furnished.
And what?
Thoroughly furnished.
Why would he mention thoroughly furnished here? That the man of the Most High be be perfect and thoroughly furnished. Why would he mention that right here? Second Timothy?
Yep, 2 Timothy chapter 3, verse 17.
Why would he say that? Hold on, wait, no. You can't. No, brother, not you. Somebody else. Why would he say perfectly furnished? What comes to your mind? Thoroughly furnished. Why would he say that? A house comes to mind, right? What else? When you say thoroughly furnished, anybody but B. With everything. So you go to you look in your house, right? And you think, like, man, I'm going to get that 75-inch TV and I'm going to mount it right here on the wall, right here in the living room, right? So I can watch the Chosen Seed live stream. Exactly. Right? Then you get that 75-inch TV mounted on the wall. Now what's missing? You got nothing to sit on and watch it. Now you say, okay, look, I'm going to go ahead and get this couch. You sit down and you're watching the TV, and now you look over, ain't no lampstand. Go and get the lampstand. Now what's missing? Table. What's missing? A lamp. Then what else? A plethora of things that could be missing, right? But he says that the man, be thoroughly furnished. So what is he? What is he comparing man to? A house. Right? You was gonna say that? What was you gonna say? Go ahead.
Can't hear you.
I thought you were still asking like
So when he looking at saying that a man is thoroughly furnished, he's talking to the man as if he were a house, right? So with that type of mindset in mind, when it comes to bringing furniture into the house, what's the obstacle? You said the money. What is the obstacle to bringing furniture into the house?
Think on the natural level when you bring furniture in the house.
Somebody just said it.
Somebody said it. Was it one of the children? What you say? What did he say? She said the doorway. He said measurement. Measurement too. So when you're trying to bring that big old couch or that sectional in there, what you got to do? Gotta fit. No, brother, step to the left. And then, we got to go up the stairs. So you got to bring it all the way down, and then we're going to bring it. We're going to cut. Don't mess up my walls. I just got to paint it. Right? It's tough to get stuff inside of the house. Right? This is a picture of what we go through on a daily. Get Revelation chapter 21. Revelation 21, verse 1.
Haron. And I saw a new Shamaim and a new earth. For the first Shamaim and the first earth were passed away, and there was no more sea. And I, John, and I, John, saw the Kodesh city, New Jerusalem, coming down from Elohim out of Shamaim, prepared as a bride, adorned for her husband.
So he said he's seen he's seen Jerusalem coming down, adorned, prepared as a bride for her husband, right? Read.
And I heard a great voice out of Shamaim saying, behold, the tabernacle of Elohim is with men.
Remember, we talked about this tabernacle before, right? Of men. Being with men. What was it for the Feast of Tabernacle? How was the tabernacle? I don't think we recorded that. But we're going to deal with that in a little bit more detail today. So, drop down to verse 22.
Verse 22. And I saw no temple therein. For Yahuwah Elohim Almighty and the Lamb are the temple of it.
So it says that the Most High and the Lamb are the temple of this new Jerusalem, this new city, right? So if they the temple of the new city, they the house, they the tabernacle. So inside of this tabernacle, what does it have to have? Or what should it be? Be furnished. Thoroughly furnished. Now, when you think about it being thoroughly furnished, what should it be thoroughly furnished with? Remember, he says, I and you and me, and we and the Father. What is that going to be perfectly furnished with? They're going to be perfectly furnished with you. Right? 1 Corinthians 3:16. It said that they are the temple of it, right? 3, verse 16.
First Corinthians chapter 3 and verse 16. Know ye not that you are the temple of Elohim,
And you are the temple of the Most High, and what?
and that the Ruach of Elohim dwelleth in you.
So you the temple, and the Ruach dwell in you, which means that you got to keep it what? Clean, and what else? Thoroughly furnished. Right? What do you think that means? What do you think that means? Got to study? What else? Be furnished, but what does it mean to be furnished? Gotta have the fruits of the Ruach. Right? Put the armor on. What else? What else? Huh? You got to be complete, right? Jump over to Psalms 127. Psalms 127, verse 1.
Psalms 127 and verse 1. A song of the grief of Solomon. Except Yahuwah build the house.
Except what?
Except Yahuwah build the house.
Except Yahuwah is the one that built the house. What?
They labor in vain.
They do what?
They labor in vain.
So when you're looking at the makeup of what he told you, got to be fully furnished. He said, except the Most High is the one that built it, then they labor in what?
In vain.
They labor in vain. They labor for nothing. Read.
That build it. Except Yahuwah keep the city, the watchman waketh, but in vain.
So, how many of you have been built up by the Most High? Isaiah chapter 9, verse 6. Give me John chapter 1. Isaiah 9 and 6. Before you read that, give me John chapter 1 and verse 1. Shabbat Shalom.
The book of John, chapter 1 and verse 1.
So we're talking about this house that's builded by the Most High, right? Go ahead. John 1 and 1.
In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with Elohim, and the Word was Elohim. The same was in the beginning with Elohim. All things were made by him.
All things were what?
Were made by him.
All things were made by who?
By him.
How many of y'all houses have been built by the Most High?
All things
Read that one more time.
him.
One more time.
All things were made by him.
How many of y'all were made by the Most High? Everybody. Acts chapter 7, verse 28. Remember, he told you was the temple. 7:48. You was the temple. He created us. Yes or no? Yes. Right? Acts 7 and 48.
The book of Acts, chapter 7 and verse 48. Howbeit, the Most High dwells not in temples made with hands.
He just told you the Ruach dwells inside of where? In you. Were you created by man's hand? No. So he's not dwelling in something that was made with hands anymore. There was a time where he did, but he don't right now. Right? Read that one more time.
Albeit that the Most High dwells not in temples made with hands.
So if he don't dwell in temples made with hands and he dwell in your temple, that means it got to be what? Clean. And what else? Come on, y'all. Y'all sleep today or what? We trying to lay a foundation. It got to be thoroughly furnished. Right? We woke? We good? He not going to come and dwell in there if he ain't got nowhere to sit. If he ain't got nowhere to rest. You got to be clean. You got to be thoroughly furnished. Right? But what if you're not? What if you're not? What happens to that temple that's not clean and thoroughly furnished? It falls. Get Leviticus chapter 14. Matter of fact, yeah. No, we got to go here first. 1 Kings chapter 6. Hold what you got in Leviticus 14. We coming there next. We got to go here first. So, what was the obstacle in getting that furniture in the house? The doorway. Right? Okay. 1 Kings chapter 6. This is when the Most High gave the instructions on the building of the temple. Right? 1 Kings chapter 6 at verse 1.
1 Kings chapter 6 and verse 1. And it came to pass in the 480th year after the children of Israel were come out of the land of Egypt, in the 4th year of Solomon's reign over Israel, in the month of Ziph, which is the 2nd month, that he began to build a house of Yahuwah.
Yeah.
And the house which King Solomon built for Yahuwah.
For what?
For Yahuwah.
He built it for Yahuwah, right? He told David that his son was going to build this temple for him, correct? Okay, go ahead.
The length thereof was 80 cubits, and the breadth thereof was 20 cubits, and the height thereof 30 cubits.
Now, how many of y'all would just zoom past this stuff if you was reading in there in 1 Kings?
Everybody get them up.
Right? Yeah. Ain't nobody about to be going through the cubits and the this and the that and the, right? But when we talking about his house being built, everything matters. Every square inch matters. Why do you think every square inch matters? It's for a purpose, right? What's the purpose? Keep reading. Verse 3.
And the porch before the temple of the house, 20 cubits.
Before the temple of the what?
Before the temple of 20 cubits, and was the length thereof. And the porch before the temple of the house, 20 cubits, was the length thereof according to the breadth of the house, and 10 cubits was the breadth thereof before the house. For the house he made windows of narrow lights.
Yeah.
And against the wall.
So you know when they got them churches and they be having them narrow windows in there, little rectangle joints. That's where they get this from. Go ahead.
And against the wall of the house he built chambers round about against the walls of the house round about.
There's a lot of stuff that he got going on being built around here, in here, right? All in the house, right? Read.
Both of the temple and of the oracle, and he made chambers round about. The nether parts, chambers, was 5 cubits broad, and the middle was 6 cubits broad, and the third was 7 cubits broad. For without in the wall of the house he made narrow rest round about, that the beams should not be fastened in the walls of the house. And the house, when he was building,
it said, and the house when he was what now?
When he was in building, was built of stone.
Of what?
Of stone.
So the whole house, all of this stuff was made of what?
Of stone.
What?
Made ready before it was brought thither.
Hold on. He said these stones were made ready where?
Before.
So if you're working on a house and you're doing some drywall, where you gonna do the drywall at? Where you gonna build the wall at? You're gonna build it in the house, right? Why are you gonna build it in the house? Because it can, so it can what? So it can fit in the house. Read what you got in verse 7 again.
Verse 7. And the house, when it was in building, was built of stone, made ready before it was brought in.
What do that mean to you?
It was put together. It had its foundation. It was solid.
Before it was built, it was made perfect. Before, let's finish. Let's continue. Read. Because he said he put beams in there to hold stuff up, right? What do you usually do with beams when you get it up there? How do you fasten it? Nail and hammer, all that type of stuff, right? But this is why those cubits matter. This is why this type of stuff matter. He said, and the house when it was in building was built of stone made ready before it was brought in there. Read.
So that there was neither hammer.
So there was what?
Neither hammer.
And what?
Nor axe.
Nor what?
Nor any tool of iron heard in the house while it was in building.
Oh. He says that you didn't hear a hammer, axe, or any tool of iron inside the house while they were in building. How could this be possible?
Because he fashioned it the way they made like what you call them little toys? The Legos. You know how the Legos got little holes. It was kind of like that, the way they made it. It was like fit it in like this. I guess that's what it sounded like to me. Where it was put together, it was perfect.
It was what? It was perfect. This is why the cubits matter. This is why the measurements matter. Because when they brought the stuff in there, it wasn't bringing it in there and nailing it and doing all of this stuff that we do now. It was made completely perfect from the outside. Ain't no trying to get around the door. And it was made completely perfect before it got even put in there. So now, when we looking at Revelation 21, and he says, the Most High and the Lamb are the temple of it. And he calls you a temple, and it's going to be furnished. That means that you have to be made what? Before you do what? Before you go in there. Right? Ain't no, well, I'm working on myself. I'm going to get it together.
I'm a work in progress.
I'm a work in progress. Because there's you ever had your house worked on, and if the builder or the contractor didn't meet a deadline, you X'd him out? Have you ever heard of that happening? Like, yeah. Right? Like, no, man, I can't deal with you. You take it too long. This ain't how I want it. You got to go. There's only a short amount of time that you have to do this. Ecclesiastes chapter 9 and verse 3. Yeah, absolutely.
The book of Ecclesiastes, chapter 9 and verse 3.
Yeah.
This is an evil among all things that are done under the sun, that there is one event unto all.
There's what?
One event unto all.
What does that mean? It's one event unto all. Something gonna happen to everybody. What's that one event that everybody got to look forward to?
Yeah, that's right.
Death and what? Death and judgment. No matter when it get here, no matter when it take place, everybody got to go through it. Correct? Which means that your making this house perfect before it leave here is imperative. Read.
Yeah. Also, the heart of the sons of men is full of evil, and the madness is in their heart.
Is where?
Is in their heart.
He says that you are the temple and he dwell on the inside. So what goes on the inside of the temple? Furniture. Right? What are we talking about, right? Furniture. Stuff. So he said inside of man's heart is what?
Evil.
Uh-huh.
And in their heart, and madness is in their heart.
Madness is where?
In their heart.
So inside of the temple, inside of your house is evil and madness. I wonder, something like pride would be in there, right? Stuff like slander, like what we was talking about, right? Things of that nature will be inside of this house. Now, would he dwell inside of that house? Get 1 Corinthians chapter 3 again. You stay where you at. 1 Corinthians chapter 3 and verse 16. 3 and 16 again.
1 Corinthians chapter 3, verse 16. Know ye not that you are the temple of Elohim, and that the Ruach of Elohim dwelleth in you?
Yeah.
If any man defile the temple of Elohim, him shall Elohim destroy.
He gonna what?
Destroy.
He gonna destroy you if you defile his temple. What's inside of the hearts of men?
Madness.
Uh-huh.
And madness is in their heart while they live.
While they what?
While they live.
So while you living, you supposed to be actually trying to build and put this house together to make it perfect. So when we get to the point in Revelations where we got to go and fit inside, that we fit perfectly, right? He told you to be perfect and thoroughly what? Furnished. But while you're living, you don't consider that your time is running out. Your contract where you building this house is running out. Read what you got again? No. The verse was that.
And madness is in their heart while they live. And after that, they go to the dead.
They go to where?
To the dead.
So after that, when the madness and evil is in their heart, they go where? They go where? They go to the dead. Keep that in mind. Keep that in mind. So they not building the house properly. It's all type of madness in there. It's evil in there. And after that, they go to the dead. They don't come to him. They go to the dead. Right? Go ahead.
Verse 4. For to him that is joined to all the living, there is hope.
He said to him that's what?
That is joined to all the living, there is hope.
For him that's joined to all the living is what? Hope. How many of y'all joined to the living? Wow. How many of y'all joined to the living? You've been alive. I see y'all. You're breathing. Y'all scared to dance?
Why they won't dance? What's going on?
Is it the pride? Mark said the pride. Like, they don't want to be wrong. No, it's the living. It's literally the living. It's not a trick question. It's literal. You're among the living, right?
I think so.
Which means you still right. I think. I don't know. Right? Go ahead.
For him that is joined to all the living, there is hope.
There's what?
Hope.
There is hope.
For a living dog.
For what?
A living dog.
For what?
A living dog.
Is what?
Is better than a dead lion.
All right.
Right, exactly.
He said a living dog is better than a dead lion. Now, if these two, right. So if a dog and a lion was before you, and they was getting ready to go at it, who you picking to win? All day long, lion gonna win every time. It's an atomic dog. Snoop Dogg dog. Right? So when you're looking at these two things about to go at it, you like, boom, the lion gonna win. All my money on the lion. Right? But if that lion is dead, Who has the better chance? The dog.
Already.
He already won. There's no fight. So you still amongst the living, which means you still have time. Read.
Verse 5. For the living know that they shall die.
For you, do you know that you're supposed to die? So that means that you know that you're supposed to be what before you die? You're supposed to perfect that house. You're supposed to be complete. Every waking moment is supposed to be trying to complete that house. And it's perfection. Because it's not like you don't know. Read.
But the dead.
But the what?
But the dead.
What?
Know not anything. Neither have they any more reward. For the memory of them is forgotten.
It's what?
Forgotten.
The memory of them is gone. They get put on a rest in peace shirt. Me and the brothers were just talking about this the other day. They get put on a rest in peace shirt for 2 weeks, for a month. And that's it. But you still here and you can make a difference. You can continue to build that house. But if your heart is evil, it's full of pride, it's full of slander, it's full of hatred, all these things like that, then we got to understand that it got to be dealt with. Get Leviticus 14. Leviticus chapter 14, we're going to pick it up at verse 34. 14.
Leviticus chapter 14, verse 34.
Verse 35.
Verse 35.
Matter of fact, yeah, verse 34, I'm tripping.
Verse 33.
I'm tripping. Verse 1. Verse 33.
And Yahuwah spake unto Moses and to Aaron, saying.
So now we're talking about this house that's thoroughly furnished, right? When you bring a new couch, new table into a room, what do you do to the room before you set it down? You clean it. Oh man, let me sweep this out the way. Because you don't want to put this new good-looking furniture inside of some mess. Right? Okay.
Verse 34. When you be coming to the land of Canaan, which I give to you for a possession, and I put the plague of leprosy in a house of the land of your possession.
What's the leprosy that it's talking about right here? It's like mold or mildew. Anybody ever had a mildew in their house? Mold in their house? Is that dangerous? So if you stay in a house full of mold and mildew, what happens to you? You get sick, and what can potentially happen? You die. So when that evil and all that stuff is in the heart of men, and the Ruach got to dwell in there, is it going to stay in there and die? No. What is it going to do? It's going to leave. And when it leaves, the Most High going to do what? He's going to destroy it. I got to get rid of it. I don't got no use for it. So we've been talking about all these different type of things to make us a better person, right? Getting this pride out of us, getting all this type of stuff out of us. But this house right here got leprosy, mold, mildew in it. This represents that evil that's inside of you, right? Read on.
Verse 35. And he that owns the house,
he that what?
Owns the house, shall come and tell the priest, saying,
You is your house, right? He said, you're going to come and tell the who?
The priest.
The who?
The priest.
Who would be your priest right now? Mashiach. Right? Side note, he's the cornerstone, correct? Who built him? The Most High. What do you call, what's the profession that they call somebody that builds houses? A carpenter. A carpenter, right? Carpenter. So that means the father was a carpenter. So it'd only be fitting if Mashiach was born into a family where the father was and then he became a carpenter himself. We'll get to that in a minute. Go ahead.
Verse 35. And he that owneth the house shall come and tell the priest.
Tell the who?
Priest.
You're going to tell Mashiach, because you're going to come and confess before him, right? Read.
Saying, it seemeth to me there is as it were a plague in the house.
It's a what?
A plague in the house.
It's a plague in my house. Pride destroys a man, right? Pride goes before the fall, right? That's a plague. You got to get that up out of there. Slander destroys a man, right? You got to get Matthew chapter 12, pick it up at verse 30. You stay where you at,
Yahoo chapter 12 at verse 30. He that is not with me is against me, and he that gathers not with me scatters abroad. Wherefore I say unto you, all manner of sin and blasphemy shall be forgiven unto men.
Verse 36.
Verse 36. But I say unto you that every idle word that men shall speak.
Every what?
Every idle word that men shall speak.
What?
They shall give account thereof in the day of judgment.
These things you're going to have to give account for in the day of judgment. The stuff that's coming out of you. Remember, he says that which goes forth out of a man is envying, murder, all of these different type of things, right? That's what defiles the house. That's the leprosy. That's the mold. That's the mildew. The Ruach won't dwell in there because the Ruach is not going to die. But it'll leave and you will. Right? Going back to Leviticus chapter 14.
Verse 36.
Mm-hmm.
Pick it up at 35 again. And he that owneth the house shall come and tell the priest, saying, it seemeth to me there is as it were a plague in the house. Then the priest shall command that they empty the house.
He said they're going to command to do what?
Empty the house.
You got to do what?
Empty the house.
Take everything out of here. Everything got to go. What that sound like to you? Say it again. Kind of an eviction.
Got to get that thing out of you.
But it's when you get when you get baptized, what is it supposed to do? Cleanse you, wash away the old man, get all that old stuff up out you. Right? Go ahead.
Then the priest shall command that they empty the house before the priest go in.
Before he do it?
Before the priest go in into it to see the plague.
Whoa. He said before the priest, first you got to get all this stuff out of you for him to even go in and be able to do anything. Right? Read.
That all that is in the house be not made unclean.
That everything that's what?
That all that is in the house be not made unclean.
Go ahead.
And afterward the priest shall go in to see the house, and he shall look on the plague.
So he going in and he trying to find stuff. Jeremiah chapter 17, verse 10. Me and my uncle was talking, right? And he gave the analogy of an inspector, right? When you put a house together, or you buy a house, or you're getting ready to buy a house, they send in an inspector to make sure that the house is up to what? Up to code, right? So he knows that one day you're going to have to dwell inside of me and inside of my Father. So in order for me to allow that to happen, I have to go in and make sure that we can put you on our property list. Whether we're going to condemn you or whether we're going to say it's good. Right? Jeremiah chapter 17, verse 10. Matter of fact, start at verse 9. Seventeen nine. So he said that you got to empty this stuff out. Then here come the priest. The priest coming in, he's trying to look and find the plague. Right?
Jeremiah chapter 17 and verse 9. The heart is deceitful.
It's what?
It's deceitful above all things. Desperately wicked.
And desperately what now?
Wicked.
Yeah.
Who can know it?
Yeah, I know my heart. I know he know my heart. Is that what it say? What did it say?
The heart is deceitful above all things.
Yeah.
And desperately wicked.
But this is where the furniture's supposed to be. This is where the furniture's supposed to be. Right? Read.
The heart is deceitful and above all things, and desperately wicked. Who can know it?
Yeah.
I, Yahuwah,
I do what?
search the hearts.
He do what?
Search the heart.
What was the priest going in and doing?
Searching.
He was searching the house. He says, I, Yahuwah, search the hearts and what?
And try the reins.
Now he doing work in there. He trying to see what's really in there. Is the Ruach in here? Or is it this evil stuff going on in here? Right? So when it's time for your inspection, because you don't know when it is, it's kind of like a tax audit. You're like, oh man, I'm being audited. I don't know. Right? Oh, my bad. The touch go people. Right? But you don't know when he coming in there. But he coming. He said he searched the hearts and what?
Searched them, and I try the reins, even to give every man according to his ways.
He's coming to give you according to your way. That's what it is. All right, boom. Ruach in here, everything good. Boom, boom, boom. Kingdom bound. Oh, man. Evil. Murderers. This, that, this. I can't deal with this. My Ruach can't even rest in here. He died to bring you a comforter that was going to dwell in you and bring all things to your remembrance. So if you don't have a house that's accepting of his Ruach or up to code for his Ruach, that means that he died in vain for you. Y'all follow me so far? Let's go back to Leviticus 14.
Leviticus chapter 14, verse 36.
Yeah.
Then the priest shall command that they empty the house before the priests go in to see it, and the plague, that all that is in the house be not made unclean. And afterwards the priest shall go in to see the house.
So he's giving the house an opportunity to be fixed. Take everything out. Everything get out. I don't want it to mess up everything. Right? He's going to go in there and look and see on the plague and see if, can this thing be repaired? He told you a living dog is better than a dead lion. You got the opportunity to clean it up. You got the opportunity to make it right with him. Because who gave you this temple in the first place? He did. Who built it in the first place? You ain't nothing but a tenant. I made this for you. Keep it up. You come to one of your cribs and they done tow up everything, bust out walls, all that different type of stuff. You gonna be happy about it? Absolutely not. So why would he? But he giving you something a little deeper. He talking about mold and mildew. Right? Read.
And he shall look on the plague, and behold, if the plague be in the walls, of the house, with hollow strakes, greenish or reddish, which is in the sight are lower than the wall, then the priest shall go out of the house to the door of the house and shut up the house 7 days.
He gonna do what with it?
Shut up the house 7 days.
So he said, if it's in the house, it's in the walls, right on the bottom of the wall. You ever seen that? You see the mold going around the bottom of the walls, right? He said he's gonna close the house up for 7 days. What's the significance of the 7 days? Completion. All right. How long did he give us to? When he coming back home? He'll be back to give us rest on the 7th day. But we got to understand, we don't know how much time we got. But he told him right here, he going to close up the house for 7 days. Go ahead.
Verse 39, and the priest shall come again the 7th day.
He going to do what?
Come again the 7th day.
That talking about returning somewhere? Now they say, oh, you can't find Mashiach's return. And it's right here. He said he going to come back to what?
On the 7th day.
Yeah.
And shall look.
And shall what?
And shall look. And behold, if the plague be spread in the walls of the house.
If it do what?
If it be spread in the walls of the house.
If it be spread. So now he came the first time looking. And it was just at the bottom. Right? He closed the house up and he come back. He said, if it be spread in the wall, it's more evil. It done got a more abundant. Read.
Then the priest shall command that they take away the stones.
That they do what?
Take away the stones in which the plague is.
This is still him being long suffering. He said, now when I see it in the walls, hey man, just take the stones out. Just take them stones out that got the leprosy on it. Because he ain't gonna completely do you in on the first time he comes. Maybe not even the second time that he comes. Right? Searching the hearts and the reins. He said, remove the stones. Go ahead.
Then the priest shall command that they take away the stones in which the plague is, and they shall cast them into an unclean place.
Into a where?
Unclean place.
He told you if you defile this temple, he was going to have to cast it off. Right? So just the stones that got them plagues in it, right? Boom, we're going to remove those. Maybe that'll do the house some justice. Maybe I can still save this house. Read.
Unclean place without the city, outside of the city.
Where?
Outside of the city.
Where? Outside of the city. Oh, what you got? B, you get Revelation chapter 22, verse 14. He gonna put these stones on the outside of the city. They the unclean ones. They the ones that had the evil and all this different type of stuff on it, right?
They had the pride in it.
The pride in them. We know that's the root to all sin, right? Maybe if I just took the stones out and put them on the outside of the city, I can save the house. Revelations 22 and 14.
Revelation 22 and 14.
Yeah.
Blessed are they that do his commandments, and that they may have right to the tree of life, and may enter in through the gates into the city.
Enter into the gates of the what?
Into the city.
But what?
For without.
For what?
For without.
So the people that's on the outside are what?
Are dogs.
And what?
And sorcerers.
And what else?
And whoremongers. And murderers.
Yeah.
And idolaters.
And what else?
And whosoever loves and makes a lie.
So these people on the outside of the city, they was a part of them stones he had to remove and put on the outside of the city. He trying to save the house. He trying to save the house. Isaiah chapter 1 and verse 9. He trying to save the house. Just like what he doing with you. Every week that you come in here and you get something new, or when you read your scriptures and he show you something new about yourself, he put that mirror up. It's time for you to remove them stones. Because if it stay in there and the mold spread and spread and spread, he gonna have to do something with this house. So once you seen this pride in you, guess what you were supposed to start doing? Removing the stones. Get it out of you. It gotta go. If you one of the people that slander or backbite or something like that, you figure it out and you remove it. Because if you don't, he got to do something with this house. Isaiah 1 and 9.
Isaiah chapter 1 verse 9. Except Yahuwah of hosts had left unto us a very small remnant.
Just in Israel altogether, he said, except he left us a small remnant. He took some of them stones out, right? Except he had just left us a little piece of the house around here, then what would have happened?
We should have been as Sodom.
We should have been as what?
As Sodom.
And what?
And we should have been like unto Gomorrah.
What happened to Sodom and Gomorrah? What happened? Brimstone. Fire and brimstone. Keep that in mind. Keep that in mind. That's what happened to them. What would have happened to us that happened to them if he didn't just leave a very small remnant, which means the whole house would have been done for. But keep in mind the punishment of that house or of Sodom and Gomorrah. Let's go back to Leviticus chapter 14.
Leviticus chapter 14, verse 40 again. Then the priest shall command that they take away the stones in which the plague is, and they shall cast them into an unclean place.
Now, if you were going to buy a house and you seen mold all through it, would you buy it? No. I'm not buying that house. Flat out, it's over with. Condemn this thing off the rip. So what's the other lesson being taught right here? Matthew chapter 7 and verse 1. Because just like when you see somebody that's committing sin and all type of sin and everything else, you like, oh man, that person's supposed to be going to the pit. Man, he going to hell, man. He losing his mind. Right? That's your thought process. Because you look at this house and you see that it's plagued with the mold and the mildew, you will be ready to condemn it. Yes or no? Yeah. But do you think about your own house? Matthew 7 and 1.
The book of Matthew, chapter 7 and verse 1. Judge not that you be not judged.
So if you are willing to condemn that house, not on the natural sense, talking about people, right? And you don't look and see the little spots of mold and mildew you got on you, this would mean that that same judgment that you want to judge them with is coming to you. So we know that we're supposed to get this pride and all of this different type of stuff up out of us. But now while we doing that, we can't look at somebody else's house and say, oh man, that brother wicked. That brother this, that brother that. He gonna go to hell. Get him up out of here. Read.
Judge not that you be not judged. For with what judgment you judge,
for the judgment that you judge, what?
You shall be judged.
You shall what?
Be judged.
Now, I watched an interview this week, and I won't give the name because I ain't trying to get no, I saw an interview this week with a brother who I thought was just completely off the wall. Like, man, I ain't never watching nothing this brother do. I ain't listening to nothing he do. Nothing. Never in a million years. But he gave this interview and it was captivating. Right? And it sucked me in because everything that they asked him, he gave all praise and honor to the Most High. Somebody that I looked at as a complete sinner, somebody I looked at as just a heathen. Everything they asked this man, he gave all praises and honor to the Most High. Wait, man, how did you feel when you did this? Oh, man, it wasn't me. It was God. God. I couldn't have did this without him. Whether it was folly or not, it wasn't the fact of what they were asking him, but the fact that he was giving all praise and honor to the Father. And we as believers don't even do it. So while he's doing this, my pride is jumping up in me like, man, I know he's supposed to be giving praise to the Most High, but what if he do this wrong? He do that wrong again. He do that wrong. And guess what I started to see? My own imperfections. I started to see where I was going wrong because I'm trying to point out his. Right? So while I'm trying to throw darts and stones at his house, I figure out, man, just because you did that right there, you got mold in yours. Right? So he said, judge not lest you be judged. Read.
For with what judgment you judge, you shall be judged. And with what measure you meet, it shall be measured to you again.
So I had to pull away from that situation. And not to think at this brother in a light that, well, he gave all praise to the Most High, but he's still over here sinning. I can't think about it like that. The fact that I'm looking at he gave all praises to the Most High and everything that he did means that I need to look at me and see, do I do the same thing? Right? Leviticus chapter 14 again. So he done came to this house twice and he didn't condemn it. He didn't shut it down. He didn't say, man, kill it. He gave it an opportunity to fix itself. When he said he closed the house up, did he say he went in there and he put some ammonia on there? He bleached it out? No. He gave it an opportunity to fix itself. Y'all follow me? You living, you have an opportunity to do the fixing. But you got to go to the priest to do it. Right? Read.
Verse 41. And he shall cause the house to be scraped.
To be what?
Scraped.
Now this last time he came, he said he causing it to be what now?
Scraped.
Scraped. That means he's doing some work in there now. He doing some work in there. He caused it to be scraped. Read.
Within, round about. And they shall pour out the dust.
And they shall do what?
Pour out the dust.
He got to go in there. Man, we got to get this house together. We're going to get this house clean. We're going to make it happen. Long suffering. That priest could have shut that house down at any moment. He was long suffering. He kept coming back again and again and again. Right? How many times have he came to you and showed you something different? You need to move different until it gets to the point where it starts to hurt. Right? Read.
Round about that they shall pour out the dust that they scrape off without the city into an unclean place.
He said they do what with it?
That they scrape off the dust off without the city into an unclean place, and they shall take other stones and put them in the place of those stones.
Now I'm going to take out the bad ones and I'm going to replace them with good. This is the priest doing the work. Right? Hold what you got there. Get Psalms chapter 19. Psalms chapter 19. Pick it up at verse 7. Yeah, verse 7.
Psalm chapter 19 and verse 7. The law of Yahuwah is perfect, converting the soul.
Doing what?
Converting the soul.
The law is what converts the soul, right? It changes it over. It puts into you new properties that weren't there before. It cleans you out. Let's see what it says.
The law of Yahuwah is perfect, converting the soul. The testimony of Yahuwah is sure.
Is what?
It's sure. Making wise the simple.
Yes.
The statute of Yahuwah are right. Rejoicing the heart.
It's doing what?
Rejoicing the heart.
Rejoicing the heart. Because that's where that furniture is supposed to be at, right? Read.
The commandments of Yahuwah is pure, enlightening the eyes.
It's doing what now?
Enlightening the eyes.
It's enlightening the eyes. Right? Read.
The fear of Yahuwah is clean.
Is who?
It's clean. Enduring forever.
It's clean. That means it ain't all messed up and thrown together. Right? Read.
Enduring forever.
It's doing what?
Enduring forever.
He's long suffering, but at a certain point in time, he got to say, can't do this no more. Right? Because he's searching the hearts. He's searching the reins. He's trying to find the good. But if there's nothing but bad in there, you got to do away with it. Go back to that Leviticus.
Leviticus chapter 14, verse 33. And if the plague come again.
If it do what?
If the plague come again.
So when he put the new stones in there, what did he do to it? To the house. He cleaned it out himself. He cleaned it out himself this time. Right? Oh, what you got? Get Romans chapter 6 and verse 1. He gave it time to do it itself, but then he said, you know what? I'm going to put something in place where I can clean it out, where it can be made whole again. Something like the Day of Atonement, something like that. Yeah. What you get every year. Yeah. And clean you out, take all the evil away, remember no more of your sins, right? He said, I'm going to do it myself this time, right? Go ahead, where you at?
Romans chapter 6 and verse 1. What shall we say then?
Yeah.
Shall we continue in sin that grace may abound? Elohim forbid.
He said, are we going to continue in sin that grace may abound? No. Read.
Yah forbid. How shall we that are dead to sin?
How were you made dead to sin? Before that. How were you made dead to sin? What did he do? He came and died, right? And then you got what? You got baptized. That's when you were supposed to die. Let's see how. Read.
Elohim forbid. How shall we that are dead to sin live any longer therein?
The Aqua gave an analogy when we go and baptize people. He says, your baptism is symbolic of Mashiach's death. Because when he was up there, he took his last breath, right? And he died, right? When you go into the water, what do? You take that last breath before you go into that water. The old man's supposed to be dead right there in that water. He's supposed to raise up a new creation. He gave you the opportunity for that. Read.
Verse 3. Know ye not that so many of us as were baptized into Yahushua HaMashiach were baptized into his death?
Yeah.
Therefore, we are buried with him by baptism into the death, that like as Hamashiach was raised up from the dead by the esteem of the Father, even so we also should walk in the newness of life.
So he said, when you raise up, you're supposed to be raised up in the newness of life. He gave you a new house, pretty much. He took the old stones away. He scraped all that stuff up out of there and put new stones in there. You ain't got an excuse no more because he did it for you. Right? That's carpenter work, right? Mark chapter 6 and verse 3. Mark chapter 6 and verse 3.
Mark chapter 6 and verse 3. Is not this the carpenter?
The who? Matter of fact, verse 2.
Mark chapter 6 verse 2. And when the Sabbath day was come, he began to teach in the synagogues, and many hearing him were astonished, saying, from whence hath this man these things? And what wisdom is this which is given unto him, that even such mighty works are wrought by his hands?
Mighty works were wrought by his what?
By his hands.
He said, who is this guy? All these mighty works wrought by his hands. Read.
Is not this the carpenter?
Why did they say this? Why did they say this? Keep reading.
Is this not the carpenter, the son of Mary, the brother of James and Joseph, and of Judah, and of Simeon, and are not his sisters here with us? And they were offended at him.
And they were what?
Offended at him.
They was offended at him. They called him the carpenter. What does a carpenter do? Build stuff, right? John chapter 7, verse 38.
John chapter 7 and verse 38. He that believeth on me, as the scriptures have said, out of his belly shall flow rivers of living water. But this spake he of the Ruach, which they that believe on him should receive. For the Ruach HaKodesh was not yet given, because that Yahushua was not yet esteemed.
Hold on, that's not what I'm looking for. One second. John chapter 2. Pick it up at verse 17. Now remember, it said that, ain't this the carpenter? Right? Now they put this title on him. Yes? Okay. So that's what he was. He was a carpenter, a builder, right?
John chapter 2, verse 17. And his disciples remembered that it was written, the zeal of thine house.
Yo, what?
the zeal of your house has eaten me up.
This is right when he found out that they was doing the with the money changers and all that in the temple, right? But he put them cords together and he whipped them on out of there. He put the cords together and he whipped them on out of there, out of the temple. Priest came in and said, remove everything up in this house. Get everything up out of the house. Ain't that what he said in Leviticus 14? So when he put the cords together and he whipped them up out of there, it was for a reason. Make sense? Go ahead.
Verse 18. Then answered the Jews and said unto him, what sign shewest thou unto us, seeing that thou doest these things? And Yahushua answered and said unto them, destroy this temple.
Do what?
Destroy this temple.
And what?
And in 3 days I will raise it up.
What he told him he was going to do to it? I'm going to build it back up in 3 days. Sound like a carpenter to me. Right? But let's see what he's talking about. Go ahead.
Verse 20. Then said the Jews, 46 years was this temple in building.
We built this thing for 46 years it took us to build this thing. And y'all call that man a carpenter? Right? It took us 46 years. Go ahead.
And will thou rear it up in 3 days?
And you just gonna raise it up in 3 days, huh? Right? They pissed. Right? Read.
But he spake of the temple of his body.
Of what now?
Of his body.
He spoke of the temple of his body. They thinking too much on the surface. So proud. Exactly. They thought he was proud. Like he said, oh man, you know that little thing y'all built for 40 years. What, 40 years, you said? Man, I'll tear that thing down and rebuild it in 3 days. That's proud. Right?
Exactly.
But he said that he spake of the temple of his body. Right? So if he can do that with his own, what could he do to rebuild yours? Right? Hold what you got. We coming right back here. Matter of fact, we ain't coming back here. Go to Psalms chapter 127, verse 1. He rebuilt his own. The priest in Leviticus 14 put new stones in the house. This particular priest that is talking about in Leviticus 14 was a carpenter. You're not going to send somebody that don't know nothing about houses to come in and fix your house. So this priest that we looking at in the New Testament, guess what he got to be? A carpenter. And in those times, you did those things which your father did. So it made sense for him to choose Joseph because Joseph was a what? A carpenter. It would make sense. He didn't just throw that out there just for nothing. Oh, and his father, the carpenter. It don't make sense to just throw that out there. No idle words in the book. Right? Psalms 127 and 1. He told you that he was going to tear down his temple and rebuild it in 3 days. He was talking about his body. What does that mean for yours? Psalms 127 and 1.
Psalms chapter 127 and verse 1. Except Yahuwah build a house.
Except what?
Yahuwah build a house.
Except Yahuwah build a house.
They labor in vain.
You laboring in vain. No matter how righteous you think you trying to be. If you're not allowing his ruach to be in you and settle in you and do those things that are right, then you're doing it for nothing. It's all vanity. Right? We was talking about in Bible study. It's all vanity. Read.
That the house they labor in vain that build it, except Yahuwah keep the city, the watchman waketh, but in vain.
Except he do this stuff. You got to allow him to do it, which means you got to read his word. You got to allow it to manifest in your ruach, and you got to apply it. Ain't no reason this pride lesson came out in the way that it came out, and you're not trying to work on yourself. You will be nothing short of a fool if you don't. That was major, right? Leviticus 14 again. Pick it up when you left off.
Leviticus chapter 14 and verse 43. And if the plague come again and break out in the house, after that he have taken away the stones, and after he have scraped the house, and after it is plastered, then the priest shall come and look.
He gonna do what?
Come and
He
look.
gonna come and look again, and what?
And behold, if the plague be spread in the house,
If it be spread again, go ahead.
it is a fretting leprosy.
It is a what?
A fretting leprosy.
What is that fretting leprosy? What does that mean? Active. It's continuing to come back over and over and over again. After I done came in the first time, got everybody up out of here, got everything up out of here, right? I done came through, I done scraped these walls up. I done took out the old stones. I done put new stones in there. Now I come back again. I come back again. You still doing the same thing again? The same thing over and over again? If you find that malice in your heart again, what's going to happen?
It is a fretting leprosy in the house. It is unclean.
It is what?
It is unclean.
Yeah.
And he shall break down.
He going to do what?
He shall break down the house, the stones of it, and the timber thereof, and all the mortar of the house.
He going to take everything and break it down. He said, except I had left for y'all a remnant, y'all would have been as what?
Sodom and Gomorrah.
He said he going to break it all down. Read.
Mortar of the house, and he shall carry them forth out of the city.
He going to carry him out to the city where he took everything else at. Read.
And to an unclean place.
And do what?
Moreover, he that goeth into the house all the while that it is shut.
Now, mind you, anybody that goes into this house while he shut it up them 7 days, anybody that went into the house when he was scraping that stuff off of there, what they was going to be doing?
Shut up. It shall be unclean until the even. And he that lieth in the house.
So he said everything that's going into this house is going to be unclean. So the people who you influence in your life, while you got all this evil going on in you, guess what you going to be responsible for? You're going to be responsible for their uncleanliness. You're going to be responsible for their evil because you were the example. Read.
Verse 47. And he that lieth in the house shall wash his clothes, and he that eateth in the house shall wash his clothes. And if the priest shall come in and look upon it, and behold, the plague have spread in the house after the house was plastered, then the priest shall pronounce the house clean, because the plague is healed. And he shall take to cleanse the house 2 birds and a cedar wood.
So now this is the flip side. So if he came back after he had put the new stones in, right? Plastered the new stones in and everything was good, then he could pronounce it clean, right? But that house that he broke down, that got taken to this unclean spot. I wonder what's going on at this unclean spot, man. What's that? Isaiah chapter 66.
Isaiah chapter 66, verse 15. For behold, Yahuwah will come with fire and with chariots like a whirlwind to render his anger with fury and his rebuke with flames of fire. For by fire and by his sword will Yahuwah plead with all flesh, and the slain of Yahuwah shall be many.
So he gonna do it with what?
Fire.
What happened with Sodom and Gomorrah? Fire. It's not gonna be good because you had the opportunity to get yourself cleansed. You had the know-how. I gave this analogy the other day. Hold on, let's see. Let's grab this right quick. Get Deuteronomy, the 10th chapter and the 16th verse.
Deuteronomy chapter 10, verse 16. Circumcise, therefore, the foreskin of your heart.
Who remember this analogy I gave? Right? He says, circumcise the foreskin of your heart. We as a what Hebrew speaking, or the Hebrew being our native tongue, right? It's very literal. It's very visual. It's very hands-on. So when he tells you to circumcise the foreskin of your heart, what's the first thing that you think about? The regular circumcision, right? Now, you've been living your whole life. Your whole life. Men, women, if you don't understand what this is about to talk about, just look at the men's faces in the room. Your whole life, right? And then somebody come and tell you, hey, brother, you got to be circumcised. Right? The thought that goes across your head is nothing but pain, sure pain, 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 pain. So once you get circumcised, then in order to seal the wound, it has to be what? Stitched up, right? Okay. When it's stitched up, you got stitches on an open wound, right? Or it's closing the wound, right? But those things that pertain to a man, in the morning time, you got to use the bathroom. You imagine? Right? What happens to those stitches? They stretch. They break. Right? It's painful, isn't it? Just imagine, imagine with me. Painful. Right? Now, unless it retracts, the pain is going to still be there. So when he gives the analogy of circumcision of the heart, you an adult. So everybody in here. And he tell you to circumcise your heart. He telling you to do what on it? Cut on it. Right? It's painful. And he stitch it up for you. But then what happens when the pride starts to swell up? It's going to stretch you. It's going to hurt. Oh, I didn't do it. I know he said that this pride, but I gotta say it, man. You keep beating me. Oh, his pride is in me. I gotta.
Yeah, well, you know, like, the main of them put them circumcised because when you go circumcised, it's filth that builds in that area.
Indeed.
And it can cause other situations.
Absolutely.
So when you come to the spiritual eyes, you'll circumcise your heart, your secret agendas, your pride, your nasty attitude, stuff, all that. You try to get rid of that. You know what I'm saying? Get rid of that.
Absolutely.
You know, that's what that really is basically doing.
I read where it says circumcised the foreskin in your heart. I think about making yourself.
Okay. Do you think about the pain attached to it? It's there.
So when the prideful situation happened to you, right? That pride like rules everything, right? We've seen it, right? So when you got to get it out, bother you on it, because pride is really still the ventriloquist, and the person is still the dummy, right? Right. So once it knows that it got to get out, it's fighting to stay in there. Mm-hmm. I want to stay in control. That person did something wrong to me. I don't want to forgive them. I want to be mad at you, but I know I can't do it. Right? That's pride. So, like he's saying, when something has happened to you and you want to forgive them or whatever it is, but the pride is fighting you. That's your heart swelling right up. Like he's saying, it's been stitched. But when it swell up, it's breaking the stitches.
Exactly.
No. You know, that's why.
That's the pain, right? So he gave that analogy for a reason. I'm allowing you to circumcise your heart. I'm allowing you the opportunity to fix that mildew, that leprosy inside of your house. Right? Matthew the 12th chapter. Let's pick it up at Because he said once this house had new stones put into it and all this different type of stuff, if it come back, then I got to break it down and I got to take it to this unclean place. Right? Matthew chapter 12. Pick it up, verse 43.
Matthew chapter 12 and verse 43. When the unclean ruach is gone out of a man.
Uh-oh. So now it's taken out, right? Because this converting or the conversion of the soul has removed all of this evil stuff that's in you, right? He said when the evil spirit is gone out of a man, read.
He walketh through dry places, seeking rest, and he findeth none.
So he go around and he looking for a spot to go, but he don't find none. All of this pride, guess where it's walking around? If you getting it out of you, it's walking around trying to find somewhere to have his next home. Right? He trying to find somewhere to stay. Right? You done kicked him out. The slandering, right? The committing all type of manner of sin and fornication, you removed it. You like, you gotta go. Todayah for that. But now these things are walking around. We're gonna use pride because that's the chief. Right? Read.
Verse 44. Then he saith, I will return unto my house.
He said, I'm on where?
I will return into my house.
I'm going back to my house. You ain't gonna put me out. How many things are abominable to the Most High? How many things he hates? Okay, go ahead.
Then he saith, I will return into my house from whence I came out.
I'm going back to the house I came from.
And when he is come,
when he come, he what?
He findeth it empty.
He find it what?
Empty.
Didn't he tell you he was gonna empty that house up for you? Go ahead.
Swept.
He said he scraped that stuff off the walls and he swept it up out of there and put it in that unclean place and what?
And garnished.
Didn't he tell you he put them stones back in the wall and he plastered them together? He said he found this place brand new. And what did he do?
Then goeth he and taketh with himself 7. Who? 7.
How many?
7 other ruachs more wicked than himself.
How many things do the Most High hate? Wonder what he took with him.
And they entered in and dwelled there.
So he said, now these 7 done came into this house and they live it. Guess what has to happen though? The priest got to come back. I did all this work. I got to go check on my house. Read.
Find himself, and they enter in and dwell there. And the last state of that man.
Of that what?
Of that man.
Because he told you that you was the temple. The last state of that man is what?
Is worse than the first. Even so shall it be also unto his wicked generation.
It's going to be worse than his first estate. All right? So now, when the priest come back and he see, oh, man, I got that one out. But oh, these come. Man, I'm not about to deal with this. What he going to do to it? He going to destroy it. He going to tear it down. Ain't nothing he can do with it. Nothing he can do with it. 1 Peter chapter 2. (21).
First Peter chapter 2, verse 21. For even hereunto.
2 Peter chapter 2. Oh, second. That's my fault, y'all. I am receiving or taking accountability for giving y'all the wrong chapter and verse. I'm sorry. 2 Peter chapter 2. And we can pick it up at verse 15.
Second Peter chapter 2 and verse 15, which have forsaken the right way.
You got people that forsook the right way, right? Same people that we are around on a daily basis. Same people in your life that you may have cut off because they was doing some really, really bad stuff. Right? Read.
Which have forsaken the right way and are gone astray, following the way of Balaam, the son of Besor, who loved the wages of unrighteousness.
He said he loved the what?
Wages of unrighteousness.
He told you that all unrighteousness is sin. What are the wages of sin? Death. They love this stuff. They live for it, right? But it's going to bring death. And if you're around those and partaking in the things that those people do, then what is it going to breed you? That mold going to keep coming back because it's active. It ain't never stopped. It's active. Read.
But was rebuked for his iniquity. The dumb donkey, speaking with men's voice, forbade the madness of the prophet.
Yeah.
These are the wells without water.
He said there what?
These are wells without water.
He said, he that believe on me, as the scripture has said, out of his belly shall flow rivers of what? He said these wells without water. Read.
These are wells without water, clouds that are carried with the tempest,
what?
To whom the mist of darkness is reserved.
It's what?
Forever.
It's reserved. You got your spot. You're good there. Reserved means can't nobody else come here but you. This spot is reserved for them. And if you attach yourself to the people that, it's like the prison stories you hear about where you got people in there that are lifers, right? They carry life sentences. So the things that they do in there are not going to be the same things that you do in there if you only sentenced to 3 months, right? They might go and murder somebody. They're going to be in there forever anyway, right? But what happens if you link up with that person and you start to go and do the things that they doing in there? What happens to your sentence?
You're
going to mess around and end up a life or two. All because you couldn't separate yourself from this stuff. It's the unclean spirit that's leaving out of you, right? He's separating. You separate yourself from this unclean spirit, this pride, all of this different type of stuff, right? Because you know if you do those things that are conducive to have it in you, then you're going to become a person that's reserved for this darkness. Read.
For when they speak great swelling words of vanity, they allure through the lust of the flesh.
They allure through what?
The lust of the flesh.
Oh, man, I don't want to talk to you like that. I don't want to talk to you like that, man. Pride gets swelling up, right? When people do things to you or say things to you that make you want to get at them, or you put your will before the Most High because the lust of your flesh is just so great, right? Read.
They lust of the flesh through much wantonness.
Through much what?
Wantonness.
He told you to want nothing because he gave you everything. Read.
Those that were clean escaped.
Those that were what?
Were clean.
He told you that he came through and cleaned the house, and then he pronounced it clean, right? He said those that are clean did what?
Escape from them who live in error.
How many of y'all want to be clean? That means that you have to escape certain individuals because it's going to promote certain things in you that you have gotten away from. If you know it's a person that gossip all the time, stop getting on the phone and gossiping with them. Huh?
Did you see?
Child? That way, that's about 40 or 50 at that point. The girl, that's a little younger. Right? I'm just talking. Right? But you got to get away from that. Right? You got to get away from that. Because if you don't, you're going to become exactly who you're around. And then this going to happen. Keep going.
While they promise them liberty.
They promise them what?
Liberty.
You ain't got to worry about this. You ain't got to worry about that. Y'all can't go out. Y'all can't do this.
That religion there crazy.
Girl, you used to smoke with me. You can't do that no more. Come on, homie. We just going around here to do this. Oh, man, you a lion. Right? They go to pride. There ain't no lane. Where we going? Come on. And then you think about it afterwards. Right? He said they promise you liberty, freedom. Right? Read.
While they promise them liberty, they themselves
are what?
Are the servants of corruption.
They messing up your house. You just got this house clean. He said that those that are clean escape from those people. You just got your house clean. Read.
Corruption, for of whom a man is overcome, of the same is he brought in bondage.
He said, to whom you are overcome, the same you brought in bondage to. Who did he tell you to be in bondage to? Mashiach. Right? A servant of Mashiach. Read.
For if after they have escaped the pollutions of the world,
after he done came in, he done cleaned this thing out, put new stones in there. Read.
For if after they have escaped the pollution of the world through the knowledge of Yahusha and the Savior Yahusha HaMashiach, they are again entangled therein. Again entangled therein.
You just broke free, and now you all tangled up, right? Think about a stereo system, all the cables tangled up and all that. How many of you just go back there and say, you know what, I'm gonna just go ahead and untangle these? Not a lot. Or some of you, what do they call it? OCD? Can't help it. But more times than not, you be like, I ain't on time for this. It's working. Right? So he said you get entangled in this stuff. You get wrapped up. And it's a point of time where he says, dude, I just cleaned you. I'm not about to go in here and do this again. Read.
Entangled therein and overcome.
And what?
And overcome. Mm-hmm. The latter end is worse with them than the beginning.
He said the latter end is worse with them than the beginning. He said the same thing about that house that was empty, swept, and garnished, right? Once they let them spirits back in, they're coming back harder and more. Because I'm pretty sure it took a lot to get the one out. So now he's bringing back 7. They ain't going nowhere. So he said it's worse with that person, just like it's worse with that house. So, it's kind of talking about the same thing. Read.
For it had been better for them not to have known the way of righteousness.
It's better for you didn't even clean that house up. It's better for you to just let it do what it did. Be old and moldy and mildewed and all that, then to what?
That after they have known it, to turn from the Kodesh commandments delivered unto them, but it has happened unto them according to the true proverb.
To the who?
To the true proverb.
We was talking about in Proverbs earlier that a living dog is better than what? Not in this case. Go ahead.
The dog.
The who?
The dog
is good as what?
Is turned to his own vomit.
The dog is only good if he got the stuff out of it. But if the dog throw the stuff up and then turn around and go and eat it, he's no better than a dead lion. Read.
Turn to his own vomit again, and the sow that was washed to her wallowing in the mirror.
So you're better off a living dog that just get the stuff out of you than a dead lion. But as soon as you get ready to go back into that madness that he already done got up out of your house and clean your temple, you might as well be that dead lion because you committed suicide. He gave you the opportunity to circumcise your heart. So if you're not built perfect, by the time he says come or complete, let's say complete, by the time you're supposed to enter into this temple with him, what do you think that he's going to do? He's going to put you on the outside. I'm going to hit all of this stuff in greater detail about being on the outside of the city. But you're going to be on the outside. But now once you complete and you come up here, let's see what he's going to do. Get Isaiah, the 2nd chapter, the 1st verse. Isaiah chapter 2, verse 1.
Isaiah chapter 2 and verse 1. The word that Isaiah, the son of Amos, saw concerning Judah and Jerusalem. And it shall come to pass in the last days that the mountain of Yahuwah's house shall be established in the top of the mountains, and shall be exalted above the hills, and all nations shall flow unto it. And many people shall go and say, Come ye, let us go up to the mountain of Yahuwah, to the house of Elohim of Jacob, and he will teach us his ways.
He gonna do what now?
He will teach us his ways.
So now that you done made it, based on what you see, based on what you went through, guess what he gonna do to you? He gonna teach it to you himself. Read.
And we will walk in his paths.
And you gonna do what?
Walk in his paths. For out of Zion shall go forth the law and the word of Yahuwah from Jerusalem.
He said, then he gonna teach you. He gonna get all of this madness up out of you. The law gonna go forth from Zion, Deuteronomy chapter 30 and verse 6. And let's see what he do. Because all this time he gave you the opportunity to circumcise yourself, right? Now when you do it, it can only be made perfect if what happens after that. Let's see. Deuteronomy chapter 30 and pick it up at verse 1.
Deuteronomy chapter 30 and verse 1. And it shall come to pass when all these things are come upon you, the blessings and the curse which I have set before you, and you shall call them to mind among all the nations, whether Yahuwah thy Elohim have driven you, and shall return unto Yahuwah your Elohim, and shall obey his voice.
That means that you turn back to him. You circumcised your heart, right? Read.
And obey his voice according to all that I command you this day, you and your children, with all your heart.
With all your what?
With all your heart, and with all your soul, that then Yahuwah your Elohim will turn your captivity and have compassion upon you, and will return and gather you from all nations, whether Yahuwah your Elohim have scattered you. If any of you be driven out into the uttermost parts of the Shamaim, from thence will Yahuwah your Elohim gather you, and from thence will he fetch you. And Yahuwah your Elohim will bring you into the land which thy fathers possessed.
So remember, he told them New Jerusalem came down, right? And they was the temple of it. And he teaching you the word in there. Read.
Which thy fathers possessed, and thou shalt possess it, and he will do thee good, and multiply thee above thy fathers.
Then what he gonna do?
And Yahuwah thy Elohim will circumcise your heart.
Then he gonna do it. This whole time he giving you the opportunity to do it. But after all of this is said and done and you done changed yourself, now he can go in and circumcise and actually make it perfect. So you don't do no sin. You don't do no wrong. You don't commit no iniquity. Read.
And Yahuwah your Elohim will circumcise your heart and the heart of the seed to love Yahuwah your Elohim with all your heart and with all your soul, that you may live.
So he's going to do this stuff. But you got to make sure that you are fully furnished in there first. Right? You got to make sure you got the fruits of the Ruach in there first. Because when you come to his temple, you're going to have to come correct. I and you and me, we and the Father. That's all I got.
Alone.
Love it. We got any questions? Go ahead.
Questions, comments, love it, you hate it, don't do it no more.
In your house, and like you have a trying to walk past, and like you stumble, hearing it, but you correct yourself. Are you still like the dead lion? Like it says no more like you're trying, but like you're trying. You might stumble, hit yourself.
Okay. So I'm gonna ask you a question because he long suffered. Remember, he said the mold was on the bottom of the house at first. Closed it up 7 days. Fix yourself. He came back and spread the walls, right? Took them stones out, closed it up, fix yourself. He came back, he put the new stones in, plastered it up, fix yourself. He came back, the mold came back, he tore it down. So So remember, he long suffering, right? But when he told you that a living dog is better than a dead lion, it's because you're still alive and you're able to change it. But we can never forget this. Hebrews chapter 10 and 26. You got to remember this. This is why it's always best to continue to learn the scriptures and learn what you're supposed to do that's right. You know what I'm saying? And do those things which are right. Hebrews 10 and 26.
Hebrews chapter 10, verse 26. For if we sin willfully,
if you do what?
If we sin willfully.
Hold that. Go, jump up to verse 23.
Verse 23. Let us hold fast the profession of our faith without wavering.
Without what?
Without wavering.
So the thing that you got and you hold on to, don't waver. Don't crook out of the path. Stay strong on it. That's the whole thing about trying to put this furniture in the house. You don't just get tired and say, man, I ain't putting this in. You're going to get that couch in the house. You know what I'm saying? Read.
For he is faithful that promised. And let us consider one another to provoke unto love and to good works.
So I wouldn't even be a good brother if I sat here and told y'all, you'll be all right if you keep on, you know what I'm saying? Do a little wrong here, do a little right here. Do a little wrong here, do a little right. I wouldn't even be your brother if I told you that. He said, provoke good works to each other. Go and be you perfect. Sin no more. As we tell each, we got to tell each other, right? Encourage one another. It can be done. You can be complete in the Most High. Read.
Not forsaking the assembly of ourselves together, as the manner of some is, but exhort one another.
But do what?
But exhort one another. And so much, so the more as ye see the day approaching.
What does it mean to exhort one another? Lift up, encourage. Right? You can do it. It can be done. Right? Hold on one second. Go ahead.
For if we sin willfully, after that we have received the knowledge of the truth.
If we sin willfully, on purpose, after we receive the knowledge of the truth, after you understand what you're doing, right? All sins aren't to death, but some of them are. He says if you sin willfully, after you receive the knowledge of the truth, or the knowledge of that law, the knowledge of that commandment, then what?
There remaineth no more sacrifice for sins.
I can't keep sending the priest in there to clean the same thing over and over again. I can't send Mashiach up on that stake and die again. I can't keep doing it. You know what I'm saying? If you sin willfully after you receive the knowledge of the truth, there's no more sacrifice for that sin. Right? Verse 27.
But a certain fearful looking for of judgment and a fiery indignation which shall devour the adversaries.
This is the type of thing that got to go through our mind when we do something that we know that we're not supposed to do, or think about doing something we're not supposed to do. Man, I could burn for this. Right? He also called you the adversary, like the ox said. So he says that he's gonna be an enemy to your enemies, adversary to your adversary. Don't be on the wrong side of that. You know what I'm saying? So we got to continue to encourage each other and do what's right. Go ahead.
No, I was going to get Proverbs chapter 4, start around verse 11.
Proverbs chapter 4, verse 11. I have taught you in the way of wisdom. I have led you in the right path. When you go, your steps shall not be straightened.
That means your steps won't be hindered or hampered. Go ahead.
When you run, you shall not stumble.
Because you've been taught the way. That's why we learn in this law. You've been taught which way to go. So when you go, your steps toward righteousness won't be stumbled. They won't be hampered.
Take fast hold.
Take what?
Take fast hold.
So when you catch this word, take fast hold, right? So when we're talking about these things, pride, slander, gossip, cleaning your house and replacing it with the ruach, right? Go ahead.
Take fast hold of instruction. Let her not go. Keep her, for she is your life.
Take fast hold of that instruction, or a firm grasp on that instruction. Keep her. She is your life. That's how you receive right. That's how you get to righteousness, right? When you take hold of these commandments, this word, like it ain't just willy-nilly, it's so you can improve, right? Go ahead.
Enter not into the path of the wicked.
That's the key right there. Do what?
Enter not into the path of the wicked.
Now, it ain't saying do wickedness, but remember the lesson that Clive taught about one thing lead to another?
Absolutely.
Enter not into the path. Don't even go that way when you, because you already know you done took hold of the instruction, right? Your path been laid forth. You know which way to go. So don't enter into the way of destruction, which is wicked, into wickedness. Read that verse again.
Enter not into the path of wickedness, and go not into the way of evil men.
Verse 15.
Avoid it.
Do what?
Avoid it.
Avoid it. Completely avoid it. Because you already know the way to instruction. Don't even go that way. Then you will avoid the stumble. The stumble that you're talking about, you will avoid it completely. Because you already know you got foresight. That's the one thing that this truth show you. You get a little foresight about how things gonna go a certain way. If you do a certain thing, right? Go ahead.
Avoid it. Pass not by it. Turn from it and pass away.
Verse 17.
For they eat bread of wickedness.
I'm sorry.
Verse 16.
Verse 16.
For they sleep not, except they have done mischief.
I'm sorry. 18.
Verse 18. But the path of the just is as the shining light that shine more and more unto the perfect day.
Verse 19.
The way of the wicked is as dark.
The way of the who?
The wicked is as dark. They know not at what they stumble.
They know not. So understand what it's saying there. The way of the wicked is darkness, which when they stumble and fall, if you don't even see what you're stumbling over. You don't even realize it. But because you know the righteous way, and you know that when you stumble, like, dang, I slipped, I stumbled. But it don't mean stay down. It don't even mean fall. If you trip, don't mean you got to fall. You know what I mean? Catch yourself, regain your balance, and keep walking. Right? So it ain't nothing wrong with a stumble, long as you recognize it. When you get to the point where those stumbles cause you to fall, and you can't recognize the stumble, then you headed in the wrong direction.
Yeah.
What happens when a person been taught the way and then still turn around and do wicked, but want to come back?
Wait, they've been taught the way.
Then turn around and do wicked and went against the law, and then want to come back to truth. When they was like, no more sacrifice for sins.
Galatians 6:1.
That was the preacher man asked. He was on that grace. Okay, what happened?
Galatians 6:1.
Galatians chapter 6 and verse 1. Brethren, if a man be overtaken in a fault, you which are spiritual, restore such a one, and restore such a one.
So you that are spiritual, walking after the law, restore such a one. How?
In the ruach of meekness, considering yourself.
We talked about that too. Meekness, right? Considering yourself, because we all can. Yeah, it can happen to any of us. And if you was the one to run a return, you would want to be restored. So considering yourself, restore such a one in the ruach of meekness. Go ahead.
Bear you one another's burden. Oh, I'm sorry. Considering yourself, lest you also be tempted. Bear you one another's burdens, and so fulfill the law of Mashiach.
And the law of Mashiach being that brotherly love, right? So that's you restore a person. It might not be full restoration right off, but there's steps to even restoration when you're restoring something. That's like even the lesson that Trav brought out today. When the mold or the mildew or the leprosy is found in the house, once they shut the door up, then what took place after that? Restoration, right? Came through, scraped it, replaced the old stones with new stones, right? That's restoration.
Ezekiel,
restore the house.
Ezekiel 33, verse 14. Actually, we can pick it up at verse 14. 33 and verse 14.
Ezekiel 33 and 14. Again, when I say unto the wicked, you shall surely die, if he turn from his sin and do that which is lawful and right, if the wicked restore the pledge, give again that he had robbed, walk in the statutes of life without committing iniquity, he shall surely live. He shall not die.
They said, oh, my bad. So he says, if this man, if he say to the wicked, you're going to surely die, and he turned from his sins and he started doing that thing which is right, he said he's going to surely live and not die. Verse 16.
Verse 16. None of his sins.
Some of his sins.
None of his sins.
What?
That he hath committed shall be mentioned unto him.
But it's contingent on him turning from it and actually walking in the right way, not committing iniquity, not committing those sins, right? Go ahead.
He have done that which is lawful and right. He shall surely live.
Mm-hmm.
Yet the children of your people say, the way of Yahuwah is not equal. But as for them, their way is not equal.
So a person will ask that to say, well, what about this? What about that? So if you're telling me if I turn my ways around that I can't be saved, yes, you can. You know what I'm saying? But people look at it at the Most High like he unequal. Oh, man, you know, how this person been doing evil all this time and then they turn around, they can be saved. This is the reason why. Go ahead, next verse.
Verse 18. When the righteous turn from his righteousness.
What does it mean to turn? To repent, to turn away, right? Remember, we talked about this. You can repent from evil, and you can also repent from good. So now if a righteous person turns away from his righteousness, read.
And commits iniquity, he shall even die thereby.
Mm-hmm.
But if the wicked turn from his wickedness and do that which is lawful and right, he shall live thereby.
Go ahead.
Yet you say, the way of Yahuwah is not equal, O house of Israel. I will judge you, every one after his ways.
That's the bottom line. Whether you wicked or you righteous, if you turn away from your wickedness and you follow out the righteousness, he don't have no gripe with you. But if you in complete righteousness or you in good standing with him and then you turn away and you repent from him or turn away from him, and he got to get you.
Oh, man,
This is good. Okay.
So, anybody else? What's up, brother?
No, man.
So I feel like the social studies learned about Homo sapiens out apparently we evolved from the monkeys. Well, when we disrespectful about I told her that she's like, well, if you believe you don't believe in that, well, that's just you don't think. And this is scientific, so you don't believe in this. But if you disrespectful, tell her, I don't listen to that.
Not this. It's just the way that you do it. But that's what we're about to really start getting into. It's a way to say it. You know what I'm saying? Where it's not disrespectful. Tell the truth, but not force it. You know what I'm saying? So that's a lot of what Israel's problem is right now. Because we're telling the truth, you think you can do it in any kind of way. Right? Christmas is not right. You know what I'm saying?
That's just
So, yeah, we don't get into that. Yeah, it's a way to do it. Teacher, I don't think that's correct.
You just tell it flat out. We don't believe in evolution.
I don't have faith in
Yeah.
it.
My mom teaches. You know, we believe in the Bible. We don't believe in evolution. Simple as that. If it come up on a test, you know, yeah, just pass the test.
You say, I got some guys that are coming here and talking to you.
Bring them.
Please, I want to.
It's some real good like videos I saw with like people who like believe in evolution and like they get their heads busted by like people who believe in the scriptures. That's all. Yeah. I mean, it ain't even nothing really complicated. It's just questions. What you had?
My wife was going through all this subject. One aspect when you heard Messiah said the spirit is willing but the flesh is weak. So even though sometimes it ain't that somebody that you really want to go from sin, they just be saying that we can be struggling with. You know what I'm saying? That's why I'm really teaching about not only prayer, when we do the prayer, Father, we always forget about meditation. So we got prayer, meditation, and also and fast. Fast. Because even remember that scripture where even Paul was like, Lord, get this throne out my flesh. And the Most High purposely didn't do it. Because he was like, you got my grace. You see what I'm saying? My grace is sufficient. You see what I'm saying? Because if we could save ourselves, it was outside. You know what I'm saying? So some of us, in some cases, it's just gonna take some, like it said, some things you come go out and fast and prayer.
Yeah, exactly. That was just about to bring that up.
Some things don't go out there because Lord knows, there's a lot of stuff I don't want to keep out my mouth and be there. You know what I'm saying? So, prayer and fasting, you gotta understand that you can't be so much to blame yourself like that, because you can't save yourself. You know what I'm saying? We born in grace, we born in sin and shit. You know what I'm saying? So it's like part of our flesh to be things. But prayer and fasting, that plays a big role.
And see, and to speak to that point, it's like this: how much do you really want to change? If you really want to change, you will take the necessary steps with the prayer and the fasting. If you really want to change, you know what I mean? Just like that what you brought up when the Mashiach told him, these kind come out only by prayer and fasting, which means it's a certain level of struggle. In that particular case, it was an unclean ruach. You know what I mean? But the only way that one to come out is by taking the extra step of fasting with prayer, like you said, meditation. It's some things it's easy to do. Some things is more difficult. So that means you got to take the necessary steps. You know what I mean? Questions?
What does suffering for us? What does our suffering like? Whatever you're going through with your suffering, or what? You understand what I'm saying? What is our suffering?
What is our suffering?
Yes.
What does it mean for us to suffer?
Like you want to suffer, or?
No, not like
It's being proven.
but it's a struggle that we all go through. Is that our suffering?
It depends on your individual thing, whatever you might be going through. Us as a nation, our struggle is this captivity, right? That's our suffering. That's a part of it. But you may have whatever going on in your own life. You know what I'm saying? So, say for instance, you married to an unbeliever. That will be suffering. Because you see them walking off a cliff and you're trying to tell them, if you keep doing that, it's going to lead you to the lake. So that's like a part of suffering, of your own suffering.
That's what I'm saying. We have our own individual suffering that we go through. That's a part of the walk. That's what I'm saying. My second question is, what if you have come out of whatever it is, and you know how you just said, people you around try to bring you back into it? How do you, and it's not that you cannot not be around them unless you change everything up. I mean,
If it's going to influence you, get away from it.
not my heart is hurt. You understand what I'm saying? Like, your heart is hurt, so you see it, but you're not influenced by it.
As long as you don't, if it ain't influencing you to do it, you good. You know what I'm saying? But if it start bleeding off to you, then you get away from it. ASAP. That's what he talking about being. Get on Ecclesiastes 18, I believe, where he talked about with much knowledge. Bring sorrow.
Ecclesiastes chapter 1, verse 18. I can start at verse 17.
This is kind of what you like is feeling, because you understand these laws, statutes, and commandments. So it's like watching your loved ones do stuff that's going to lead them to the lake of fire. So Mashiach is the man of sorrows. Read.
I have gave my heart to know wisdom, and to know madness and folly. I perceive that this also is vexation of Ruach.
This is what?
Vexation of Ruach.
So once you start understanding this stuff, both folly and both righteousness and madness, it starts to vex your Ruach. Read.
For in much wisdom.
For what?
In much wisdom.
For much wisdom to understanding these laws brings what?
Is much grief.
That's what?
Much grief.
Much grief. Read.
And he that increased knowledge increaseth sorrow.
So now that you are aware that this lifestyle of eating pork is wrong, and you see your loved ones keep doing it, you gotta die from something. All of this type of foolishness, right? It bring on this sorrow. That's what it does. This brings on this sorrow to you. You feel like, if I can just get them to listen, So yeah.
Is that the answer for Thursday?
Pretty much.
Okay.
It's kind of cheating though, because y'all, it's kind of cheating. Go ahead.
I was gonna say about sorrow, and stuff like that. I came to my mind since 11:32 to 39. About I need sorrow and all the other stuff.
11:32.
Yeah, 11:32 down to 39. But the focus is 36. Verse 36.
Where you want to start it? Hebrews 11:32. And what shall I say? And what shall I more say? For the time would fail me to tell of Gideon, and of Barak, and of Samson, and of Jephthah, and David also, and Samuel, and of the prophets, who through faith subdued kingdoms, wrought righteousness, obtained promises, stopped the mouths of lions, quenched the violence of fire, escaped the edge of the sword, out of wickedness were made strong, waxed valiant in fight, turned to flight the armies of the aliens. Women received their deed raised to life again, and others were tortured, not accepting deliverance, and that they might obtain a better resurrection. And others had trial of cruel mockings and scourgings, yea, moreover, of bonds and imprisonment. They were stoned, they were sawn asunder, and were tempted, were slain with the sword. They wandered about in sheepskins and goatskins, being destitute, afflicted, tormented, of whom the world was not worthy. They wandered in desert and in mountains and in dens and caves of the earth. And these all, having obtained a good report through faith, received not the promise. Elohim having provided some better thing for us, that they without us should not be made perfect. Good, that's it. You have something you want to? No? You sure? Okay.
she said she talked about suffering, or are you talking about like suffering? Like your heart is hurt from suffering, like somebody, like he said, what you see in your loved ones, and nothing you can stop you suffering that you're going through. You know what I mean? Like yourself. You try to stop yourself from suffering, but your flesh is trying to make you. You understand what I mean?
It's like your heart being hurt.
Yes. Yes. So what you know what path you on. You have to be on the right path, but you still hurt because prime example. Like Paul. He was for the Most High, but he didn't believe in Jesus. Well, that's Jesus, but the Mashiach, right? And then the Mashiach came to him and asked him to, he wanted him to spread his word. But he has already hurt us, and we don't believe he's trying to spread the word. Do you understand what I'm saying? Does that make sense? So he's still suffering because although he's out to do the right thing, they don't believe him because he don't.
That go right under what he was saying though. That for much knowledge is much grief. You know what I'm saying? Much sorrow. So the more you know, the more that you know righteousness, the more and more you're going to see unrighteousness. The more and more you're going to see the people that are doing unrighteousness. You know what I'm saying? Well, beforehand it was like, oh, this is whatever. But now that you see it, you're like, dang, that's bold. That's bad what they doing. Man, hey, you shouldn't be doing that. And they continue to do it. It's sorrow. It's grief on you. But that's because you learning more, you studying more, you walking in righteousness more. So you be able to identify what's not righteous. You know what I'm saying? That's all that is.
It's like you've been in the Bible for so long. So when somebody come in and cut the Bible, the first thing you gotta do is that's not your life, but after time goes on, you life. You know what I'm saying? But you've been in the Bible the whole life, somebody come in and cut the Bible, the time is up. You don't be like, you know what I'm saying? You know, but it's so dark.
You gotta get adjusted.
It's their own saying that says, be comfortable being nothing. Be comfortable being nothing. You know what I'm saying? You know, we walk forward.
That's why you put yourself in the
Absolutely. Now it's even worse. I know about the product. Like she's saying, my album was called A Man of Sorrows, right? So everywhere I am, I'm a thinker. So I drive around and I look and I watch stuff and I see stuff, and it's like all these people, most of these people that we see are going to the lake of fire. You know what I'm saying? That's sad in itself. You know what I'm saying? And they out playing, dancing, and doing all of this stuff and don't have a clue about none of this stuff that this book is talking about. That in itself is sad. You know what I'm saying? And they bring it on. And when you see girls on videos twerking and all of this type of stuff, and it's like, yo, wow, they don't got a clue. When you drive in here and you see people out playing basketball on the Shabbat or whatever it is, and you like, wow, them people don't have a clue, right? You see the dudes in the car with the blunt in the mouth and doing all this stuff, and like, he don't have a clue of what's coming. That in itself is sad. That brings on sorrow, right? You look at the video, you see the people at church dancing around, and they swear up and down that they doing right, right? But they don't have a clue what's coming. And you know that man standing up there taking the money from him, he dumb as a box of rocks, and he ain't teaching the people nothing. All that stuff brings on this sorrow, right? Like you're saying, knowing this stuff, it brings sorrow on. Then knowing this pride thing, it even increases it more. Because now the people that got it don't even know that they got it. I talked to a brother the other day. He said, oh, no, I'm straight. I don't suffer with no pride. I don't got no pride. Off the real.
I was mighty proud of you. I was mighty proud of you.
She called me and she's well off or whatever. I know her. She told me, but
She's well off.
What she's going to do is above me, and I don't understand.
Whoa, absolutely.
What you do?
Right.
Did you respond?
First of all,
That's what hurt it. You know, it's beneath me. I don't know. I'm next in it. I was like, most times, forgive me for this because I gave her wow. Yelling all in the phone.
Hey,
did you know it before you start when she was saying it? Did you think a little bit about?
Absolutely. When I went first,
rip them stitches to shreds.
The whole. That hurt circumcised was like. That was pride.
That could be figured out at a great time.
You better stop that, bro. That ain't good.
Like it says, a wise man conceals his words, right? So a lot of times it's best not to even respond. It's like the ox said, she's just dirt. The stuff that she got is dirt.
Right.
But it got puffed up in you because you're like, what? I don't understand your dirt. Like my dirt. At the end of the day, it don't mean nothing. It's all vain. It means nothing. So her saying that made her feel good. It shouldn't even do nothing to you.
And if you would have responded in a different way, like the way you should have responded, like it would have been a whole different, you know. And you would have taught her something.
Soft answer.
But you know, at the end of it, after I failed and calmed down, I said I was sorry. That didn't do nothing for me because I got off the phone, I was still hurt.
Yeah.
But I knew she worked that night. And I went to her house and apologized for it because I was hurt.
Praise y'all.
Three or four more. All right, let's hit these questions on the chat. Oh yeah, right. I'm talking about top of the echelon. All right, we're gonna hit these questions on the chat. It's a question: does Romans 8:13 and Colossians 3:15 line up with today's lesson? Yes. Grab the Romans 8:13. Yes, Romans 8:13 and Colossians 3:15 line up with today's lesson.
The book of Romans.
Hold it down, y'all. Hold it down. We're gonna shoot through these questions real quick, and And then we go ahead and pray out.
Romans 8:13. For if you live after the flesh, you shall die. But if through the Ruach do mortify the deeds of the body.
It said the Ruach do what?
Mortify the deeds of the body.
What does it mean to mortify something? To kill, destroy, dead. Right? Mortify the deeds of the body. That's that bad furniture. That's that mold. That's that, right? And get it out of there. Read. Was that the end of that?
No.
Go ahead.
You shall live.
Uh-huh.
For as many as are led by the Ruach of Elohim, they are the sons of Elohim.
So yes, this does go with Colossians 3:15.
Colossians chapter 3 and verse 15. And let the peace of Elohim rule in your hearts.
In your what?
In your hearts.
So remember, all of this stuff that it's talking about come from the heart, right? That's where that furniture lies. That's where that mold lies. That's where all of that stuff goes, right? So if you allow his peace, remember that lesson we did on Shalom, that peace that surpasses all understanding, right? And working to enter into his Shalom, right? Go ahead.
To the which also you are called in one body, and be you thankful. Let the word of Hamashiach dwell in you richly.
How much?
Richly,
abundantly.
In all wisdom, teaching and admonishing one another in psalms and hymns and spiritual songs, singing with grace in your hearts to Yahuwah. And whatsoever you do in word or deed, do all in the name of Yeshua HaMashiach, giving thanks to Elohim and the Father by him.
So that's how you keep a clean house. They say everything that you do it by way of them. You give thanks to them. That's what Paul brought out in that prior lesson. Acknowledge the Most High in all of your ways. So yes, those two go with it. If you can't acknowledge them in something that you're doing, you probably shouldn't be doing it. What's the other one? This one says, who are the wicked? Who are the wicked? Remember, it was a difference between wicked and sinners, right? A sinner may commit a sin, right? Or a transgression. Turn away from it. Stop sinning. But the wicked, it's something about the wicked that just continually to do evil stuff. So let's look at something. Get Psalms, the 10th chapter.
Start doing that, bro. It's funny, but it ain't.
10:3.
Every time.
Hold on.
Laugh about it. You do. You know it.
Yeah. Proverbs 10. I'm sorry. Proverbs 10 and 3. Proverbs 10 and 3.
The book of Proverbs, chapter 10 and verse 3.
Who are the wicked?
Yahuwah will not suffer the soul of the righteous to vanish, but he chases away the substance of the wicked. He becomes poor that he becomes poor that deals with a slack hand.
I don't think so. Hold on 1 second, y'all. Oh no, I was right. Psalms 10. Psalms 10. We can start at verse 1. Psalms 10. I'm sorry. Salakia. Salakia.
Psalms 10 and 1. Why stand you afar off, O Yahuwah? Why hide yourself? Why hide you yourself in times of trouble?
What did he say?
The wicked.
The wicked in what?
In his pride.
In his what?
In his pride.
Ooh.
Thus persecute the poor.
He said the wicked in his pride do persecute the what?
The poor.
So if like what your sister was saying, oh, I'm above you. She's looking at you with something below. Poor. She make all this stuff, right? Said the wicked persecute the poor, right? And they what? And they pride, right? Go ahead.
Let them be taken in the devices that they have imagined.
Read.
For the wicked boasts in his heart.
So the wicked in his pride persecute the poor. He boasts in his heart. Go ahead.
He boasts in his heart's desire and bless the covetous, whom Yahuwah abhors.
Go ahead.
The wicked through the pride of his countenance.
So wickedness or the wicked and pride, they kind of going hand in hand. So we got to make sure we get all that stuff up out of us. He said the wicked through the pride of his countenance do what?
Will not seek after Yah. Elohim is not in all his thoughts.
That's why you got to make sure you get the pride up out of you. Everything you do, you got to acknowledge him. He says that the wicked through the pride of his countenance don't seek after the Most High, and he not in all of his thoughts. Read.
His ways are always grievous.
His ways are what?
Always grievous.
This is the wicked. They always grievous. And what?
Your judgments are far above out of his sight. As for all his enemies, he puffs at them. He have said in his heart, I shall not be moved, for I shall never be in adversity. His mouth is full of cursing and deceit.
Is full of what?
Cursing and deceit.
Oh man, I can say and do
and fraud.
His mouth is full of cursing and deceit and fraud. And his tongue is what?
Under his tongue is mischief and vanity.
Yeah.
He sits in the lurking places of the villages. In the secret place does he murder the innocent. His eyes are privately set against the poor. He lies in wait secretly as a lion in his den. He lies in wait to catch the poor. He does catch the poor, and when he draws him into his net.
Verse 11.
Verse 11. He hath said in his heart, Elohim has forgotten. He hides his face. He will never see it. Arise, O Yahuwah. O Elohim, lift up your hand. Forget not the humble.
Hold on, wait. So all of this stuff he's talking about as far as the wicked, then he comes back and say, Yah, don't forget the who?
The humble.
So the opposite of these wicked people are people of humility, people that are humble. We go right back to that pride thing. But this Psalms chapter 10 is going to lay out who the wicked are. The other question is, what happens to the deaf, the lame, the dumb? I'm just paraphrasing until I get here. All right, it says people with mental illness, such as Down syndrome, that don't comprehend as well as others. What will happen to them at the end? That's a good question. Just hit this. Just hit this. Isaiah 43.
Praise God.
43 and verse 3.
See? 43 and verse 3.
Isaiah Thomas.
But I am Yahuwah, your Elohim, the set apart one of Israel.
Yeah.
Your Savior.
He said, I'm your what?
Your Savior.
So he leads this off saying, I'm set apart, right, for Israel. I'm your Savior. Read.
I gave Egypt for your ransom, Ethiopia and Seba for you. Since you were precious in my sight, you have been honorable, and I have loved you. Therefore, will I give men for you.
He said, I'm going to do what?
Give men for you.
I'm going to give men for you. And what else?
And people for your life. Fear not, for I am with you. I will bring your seed from the east.
I'm going to do what?
Bring your seed from the east and gather you from the west.
Yeah.
I will say to the north, give up, and to the south, keep not back.
He says, so I'm going to gather you from the east, the west, the north, the south. So we understand that he's talking about in these last days here, right? Because he said, I'm gathering you from everywhere. Read.
I will say to the north, give up, and to the south, keep not back.
Yeah.
Bring my sons from afar, and my daughters from the ends of the earth. Even everyone that is called by my name.
Everybody that's what?
Called by my name.
Go ahead.
For I have created him for my esteem. I have formed him. Yea, I have made him.
Yeah.
Bring forth the blind people.
Bring forth who?
The blind people.
He got something for the blind. Read.
That have eyes. And the deaf that have ears.
He said, bring forth the deaf. He got something for them. Go ahead.
Let all the nations be gathered together, and let the people be assembled. Who among them can declare this and show us former things?
So,
let them bring.
Go ahead.
Let them bring forth their witnesses, that they may be justified, or let them hear and say it is true. You are my witnesses, saith Yahuwah, and my servant, whom I have chosen.
All right.
That you
get Isaiah. Yeah, that's good on that. Get Isaiah chapter 35. 35, start at verse 5.
Isaiah 35 and 5. Then the eyes of the blind shall be opened.
Verse 4.
Verse 4. Say to them that are.
Verse 3.
Verse 3. Strengthen you the weak hands and confirm the feeble knees.
So it says strengthen the weak hands and confirm the feeble knees, right? So the weak hands, he's telling you to strengthen. Hey, help them out. The feeble knees, the knees that's shaking, right? He said confirm them, still them. Read.
Say to them that are of a fearful heart, be strong, fear not. Behold, your Elohim will come with vengeance, even Elohim with a recompense. He will come and save you.
Yeah.
Then the eyes of the blind shall be opened, and the ears of the deaf shall be unstopped.
And the what?
And then shall the lame men.
So this is what you would call like Down syndrome, something to that effect, right? Or with some type of issue in that regard. He said, then shall the lame man do what?
Leap, as in heart.
And the what?
And the tongue of the dumb sing. For in the wilderness shall waters break out, and streams in the desert. And the parched ground shall become a pool.
So he's not going to allow them to fall by the wayside because they have some type of mental illness or were born different than other folks. You know what I'm saying? He got something for them too. You know what I mean? But believe if everybody's gonna be judged based on their works. So it's a difference if they are diagnosed with Down syndrome or something to that effect, and they know what they're doing is wrong and they won't do right. It's a difference. You know what I'm saying? Only the Most High can judge those situations. You know what I'm saying? But he's not going to leave nobody by the wayside that can't do for themselves. Like Quab spoke about before, you got people who, like the children in Sodom and Gomorrah, right? The children that weren't able to do any wrong but got killed in Sodom and Gomorrah. They died a death, but that don't mean that they died the death, because it's another one that got to come. You know what I'm saying? So it's all going to be based on what the Most High measures, what measures they supposed to be met. That was all of them, right? Okay, that was everything. Oh, what we talking about the prison? Put the email up there.
What was the question?
It says, "Ox, who should talk? Wait, who should talk about the prison? Who should they talk to about the prison outreach?"
Is that the same? Is that the same sister that sent the email? I think.
Or maybe
you make me aware with that. No. I sent that to you, right?
Are you the same person that sent that email? Yeah. Okay, so we're gonna get
she was planning to come. She was planning to come and visit. She lives in the Chicago area. She was planning to come and visit.
Okay.
But I sent that information to you. It was the sister sent the email.
We're gonna get on it today.
Okay, yeah. I haven't replied to the email that you sent. And yeah, we that way we can let you know about that. There was one more question. Yeah, somebody asked about the abomination and desolation.
Take a minute to go into that.
Did You got a lesson on that already?
Not that just out by itself.
Part of it? It's part of another lesson?
It's stuff that I can't remember.
The question was, what is the abominations of desolation?
In short, it's the evil man that set up and do evil in the. Everybody think it's talking about the land, but it's really talking about the heart of man, the temple. Kind of like what Travis went into today.
All right, y'all. We got a letter from our dear sister, Makia. As y'all know, she had been dealing with some health issues, and she had been going through a lot. You know what I'm saying? So she back in the hospital. Make sure y'all keep her in prayer. She sent us a card. So I'm gonna read this card just for everybody to see what's going on. She said, "Shalom, family. I just wanted to take the time out to thank each and every one of you from the bottom of my heart for your prayers, support, and generous amount of monetary gift. You all really blessed me immensely in my time of sorrow. I'm so very grateful. Your acts of kindness will never be forgotten. I thank the Most High for each and every one of you. Continue to keep me in prayer, my sisters and my brothers. Your kindness is a blessing, and so are you. Love you all, miss you all, and we'll see you all soon. Sister Makia Yehuda." So, hallelujah. Keep her lifted up. Only Yah knows what's going on with the sister, and he's able to fix it. So we're going to pray that the Most High go ahead and get this thing done for her so we can see her again. If you're watching, we love you. We miss you.
Absolutely.
And we'll see you soon. We definitely will be praying for you. That's everything? Everybody good? Nothing else?
That's it. One, two, three times out.
So, to nobody. All right, y'all, let's pray out. So we can get to this good age right there, buddy. That's age right there, buddy. What you doing, man? Oh, my goodness.
All minds clear?
Yes, sir.
Father Yah, we thank you for the word that went forth, Father. We thank you for your Ruach, Father, being in the midst, Father, giving understanding unto your word, Father. We pray that you would just continue to impart wisdom upon your people, Father. Continue to enlighten us according to your word, Father. Continue to reveal the secrets and dark sayings of your word unto your people, Father. Continue to use us as vessels for your word to flow through. Continue to use us, Father, to reach out to those people who may still be in darkness, Father, that we will reveal the marvelous light, Father, unto them according to your will, Father. We thank you, Father, for your Ruach, Father. We thank you for the Ruach that dwells in the clean house, Father. We pray and ask, Father, that any of those who may be dealing with issues whose house may not be clean, Father, whose house may not be, where the Ruach may not be dwelling, Father, that you would just give them the understanding and the know-how and the knowledge and the know-how on what to do in order to cleanse that house, Father, so that the Ruach can be set up, Father, and they can have a clean inside, Father, as you see fit, Father. Father, we pray for Sister Makia, Father, for her health, Father, that you would just continue to restore her health, Father. Guide the physicians, Father, in knowledge and understanding, and guide their hands, Father, in any procedures, Father. We pray, Father, that you would heal her and do a mighty thing right now, Father, even as we speak, standing on one accord, Father, understanding that you can do all things, and without you, nothing can be done, Father. Father, we pray right now, Father, that healing would go forth according to your will, that she would be a testimony, Father, according to your magnificence, Father, and your grace, Father. All these things, Father, we pray and we give thanks. B'Shem Yehuwah V'Mekai Yehoshua HaMashiach V'Ruach HaKodesh. So be it.
So be it.
Avinu Shabbat Shemayim.
Avinu Shabbat Shemayim.
Ikadosh.
Ikadosh.
Shem Kah.
Kah.
Tabo.
Tabo.
Mavku Kah.
Mavku Kah.
Yeaseh.
Yeaseh.
Ratzon Kah.
Ratzon Kah.
Va'aretz.
Va'aretz.
Kasher.
Kasher.
Nashah.
Nashah.
V'Shemayim.
V'Shemayim.
Tein Lanu.
Tein Lanu.
Hayom.
Hayom.
Likim.
Likim.
Hikanu.
Hikanu.
Usla.
Usla.
Lanu.
Lanu.
Eight.
Eight.
Ashmatenu.
Ashmatenu.
Kasher.
Kasher.
Sukim.
Sukim.
Anaknu.
Anaknu.
Lasher.
Lasher.
Ashmu.
Ashmu.
Lanu.
Lanu.
Ba'al.
Ba'al.
Tabinu.
Tabinu.
Lede.
Lede.
Masah.
Masah.
Ki.
Ki.
In. Hasalanu.
Hasalanu.
Min.
Min.
Barak.
Barak.
Ki.
Ki.
Lakah.
Lakah.
Hamam Lakah.
Hamam Lakah.
Ahadi Borak.
Ahadi Barak.
Bati Farek.
Bati Farek.
Lomeh.
Lomeh.
Ulami.
Ulami.
So be it.
So be it.
Yeah, hold on, Boober.